Steve McQueen in The Great Escape. Horace Greasley's account of his time in the POW camps blows those stories out of the water. What makes it all the more amazing is that every bit of the book is true. I attempted to exaggerate at times with a little poetic license. Horace wouldn't allow it. In reality, I didn't need to. The words in this book are not those of Ken Scott, ghostwriter. They are the words of Horace Greasley, ex-prisoner of war. Horace could not write or type because of severe arthritis. I take no credit for this book. I have merely acted as his fingers. Horace's long-term memory and attention to detail was remarkable. At times, reliving the brutality at the hands of his German captors would bring him to tears. I followed suit closely. It is one of my weaknesses. For me, tears are infectious. I would like to think that telling his story brought a certain closure for Horace on the horrors he experienced during the war. He expressed on more than one occasion that this book is for his prisoner comrades, the men who suffered at the hands of their fellow man. The experience of writing this book has made my life richer. Meeting a man like Horace and hearing of his suffering has humbled me. I doubt whether my generation could have coped with the experiences these men went through. I relayed some of the stories to my children, Callum, 9, and Emily, 12. They were fascinated and listened at times in disbelief as I described the prisoners' suffering and the callous, barbaric acts committed by mankind. I think it is important that we never forget the suffering an ordinary individual goes through during war, and remember that Horace was one of the lucky ones. He came home. We must continue to teach our children about the futility and horrors of war. The politicians that instigate them must question their conscience. They never suffer. Only the young men and women of their country and the countries they fight with. My children met Horace. We socialized with him and his wife Brenda. I count myself fortunate to have met such a man as Horace Greasley, and take it as a great honor that he approached me to write his book. I only hope that I have done it justice. Ken Scott, May 2013. This book is based on a true story, on information gathered from eyewitness accounts and over 100 hours of interviews. It is a story about misery, genocide, and enslavement. It is a story of one man's daring in the face of adversity. Prologue. It was early February 1945. The war was all but over. The Red Army had already liberated Auschwitz and other death camps, and the shocking stories of what they had found there were relayed to an astonished world. At Belsen, the news report sickened civilized people as images of dead and half-starved men, women, and children were beamed around the world. Even the civilian German nation could not, or perhaps would not, believe what they were seeing and hearing. At Belsen, the British liberators found over 30,000 inmates dead or dying. The skeletal figures who had survived the death camps gazed into the cameras with hardly the energy to stand or comprehend that they had been freed and their physical suffering was over. A few inmates talked of the unbelievable conditions they had been kept in, of the torture and brutality at the hands of their captors, and one man hung his head in shame as he explained that some of his fellow countrymen had turned to cannibalism simply to be able to see the next day. The camera crew focused on a sickening pile of dead, naked, emaciated women that had been located at the far end of the camp. Naked young girls, women, mothers, and grandmothers. No one had been spared. The pile of decaying, rotting flesh was 80 yards long, 10 yards wide, and 4 to 5 feet deep on average. The images were shown on cinema screens around the world. When the Supreme Commander of the Allied Forces, General Dwight Eisenhower, found the victims of the Nazi camps, he ordered all possible photographs to be taken, and for the German people from surrounding villages to be ushered through the camps and even made to bury the dead. He said, "Get it all up."